Brilliant. So thanks, Richard. Thanks very much for taking a little bit of time out your day to speak to me. We'll kick off with the simple one first. Let's tell us the company and what your role is in the company.
Oh, nothing's ever simple with me. That's the first thing. But let's start with me first of all, because I've actually come out from semi-retirement, and the reason why I've come out from semi-retirement is all linked into this digital revolution that's going on around us. Because essentially, we're going to see around 15 trillion of wealth that's going to be
Wow.
created per annum. And I'm wanting to ensure that you personally and your followers go off and get a share of this 15 trillion.
Wow. That's a
Now,
lot
now,
of dough.
now yeah, it is a lot of dough. Now, what we've done is that we've put. I'm the founder and chair of a business, Globolution, and Globolution's so named because there's a revolution that's going on. So, and what makes this kind of business very, very different is that we've got a private family investment fund. We invest into businesses, and that ranges all the way from, as an example, in our portfolio, a research analyst, technology business, Blow Research, nearly 40 years old, very well known in its circle. Your audience probably wouldn't know it, but very well known in its circle. And that stretches all the way through into product marketing, sales, obviously into technology, from technology into HR and finance, into wealth planning, wealth management, wealth creation, taxation. And that's the portfolio that sits under Globolution. So if anyone in your audience is looking for funding to be able to go off and expand, hey, just hit you up or hit me up and we can have a great chat.
Brilliant. Brilliant. It's a great offer. So tell me, so how would you describe your role in the group?
So I'm the founder, and this is going to be a bit unusual for your audience. Right? I've actually built a digital version of me. So we've got this AI revolution that's going on, obviously, and everyone would be aware about the impact or worry around their job. Because what we have is that we've got technology companies who want to go off and do this kind of thing on a commodity base. And therefore, what they're trying to do at the minute is, hey, can we go off and make this more human? Can we go off and look at this digital worker and humanize it? And I just think that's absolutely bonkers, because if I'm wanting augmented, build your own. And that's what I've done. I've built one of the first ever digital, they call it digital me, essentially. So what I'm able to do is that my digital me is able to sit inside organizations with leadership or management or any individual. They're able to go off and have a chat with it. And then when they need me, I'm able to come in to do my special bit of 20% of the magic to go off and kind of make a difference, essentially. And I'm essentially a designer architect. Because in this world in which we're now in, we're moving from a world which was very commodity based, at best output driven. But this world we're moving into, where this 15 trillion is about a generative economy. And one of the challenges is around the dots are on a page. You can almost go off and, hey, let's join the dots to go off and form a business and build a business. And these dots were numbered, Now, what we've got now is that these dots aren't numbered. And actually, there's a whole bundle of dots that I'll probably kind of throw at you in the audience that are not even on your page. So my skill set is around being able to join those dots up to enable outcomes.
Brilliant. And how does that, is there anybody else doing this sort of stuff? Would you say this is a unique?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe it is absolutely unique. It won't be, it's a question of how long will it be unique for? So it's certainly unique today because this is a different pathway. See, the key thing about the pathway we are going down is that there's 2.2 billion workers, white collar workers in the world, out of the 3.4 billion. And quite simply, it's accepted at least 50% of what you do, you don't need to be doing and you won't be doing in the future. So where we have tech companies going off and saying, well, look, hey, this digital worker, AI, it's not going to take your job. Don't worry about it. Yeah, on one hand, that's true. But if it's taking 50% away of what you do, it means if I've got two people, I only need one. So if there's 2.2 billion workers, then we've got 50% is being removed. That leaves us with 1.1 billion. And I kid you not, I'd be able to come back and show this to your audience if they'd be interested. But I'll be able to kind of share with you how 25,000 digital workers can do the work of 1 billion.
Wow.
And you have to make a decision. Your audience needs to be thinking, do you want to have your own digital worker? Or do you want to see a tech company go off and produce a digital worker isn't you? Because your digital worker means that you can move your 5 days to 4 days to 3 days because your digital worker's there 24/7. Right? Which means it's there for 8,000 hours plus, as opposed to your 2,000 hours. You know, the next thing is my digital worker works at 30, 40, 50, 100 times faster than me.
Yeah, it's all. This is all a fascinating,
yeah,
fascinating situation, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's insane the world in which we're moving into.
How did you get into this? You said you're sort of a tech designer and architect. How did you get into a business that's doing what it's doing now?
Well, I guess that's a little bit linked into. I think my mum had a big role to play. You know, if I look at business, I look at my mum, right? And it might seem really strange. My mum wasn't. She didn't own a business, right? But she was very, very entrepreneurial in the businesses, and this is what makes it very, very unique. Everyone's familiar with the gig economy now,
Yeah.
right? Well, my mum must have created that back in the 60s because she had 4 jobs. And
Wow.
two of these jobs gave a guaranteed income, and 2 didn't give a guaranteed income. Have a guess which ones paid the most money? Ding ding.
The non-guaranteed.
Guaranteed income. It was the variable income. It wasn't secure. So my mum was an entrepreneur. And when you've got that in your DNA, when you're seeing that level of creativity and you're being brought up with it every single minute of the day, because she's raising 3 boys at the same time as doing this. My dad's working 70 hours a week.
Wow.
So that had a great influence in terms of just shaping my mind and how it's wired, because I'm wired that way.
No, that's fantastic. What would you say is your biggest learning from running a business or learnings?
Wow. That's, you know, that's oh God. I think number of things here. I was given a bit of advice from the first non-exec director, first Ned I went off and brought in. And he said to me, hey, Richard, you need to sell this business as quickly as possible. And I didn't get it. Right? I thought, what? You want me to go off and kind of say, oh, yeah, I've only just kind of started it. We're just, you know, and that never resonated with me until now. So that's a big lesson, right? To anyone who's out there, right? Sell if you've got a business, sell it inside your first 3 years.
Wow. Okay.
You know, the other thing, and what that goes off and kind of leads into, the emergence of having a shareholder plan. And I would probably guarantee that the majority of the audience won't have a shareholder plan. They'll have a business plan.
Yeah.
But you need to connect the shareholder plan with the business plan.
That's interesting.
And you want to be able to go off and enable that to get the connect with the people. Because if you've got your personal dreams, your personal aspirations, you know, being able to get that same connect with an individual, can you get this alignment? And if you get that alignment, you unlock something that's absolutely magical.
No, that's brilliant. That's very interesting. Yeah, thanks for that. So tell us a bit, do you have a daily routine or what does your daily routine look like? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, there is such a thing. What my routine now is. So 40% of my time I spend in conversation. Now this is going to kind of throw you a little bit because I split that in two because I spend 20% of my time, like today, we were having a chat, and it's from these conversations. That's where you get the best ideas. That's when you go off and come up with your gems. So I've got 20% of my time set aside for that. But it's for human chat, that is. And I now set aside 20% of my time to speak to me, my digital me, which might seem a bit bonkers to your
Remarkable.
audience. But I sit there and I talk to it. It's got my culture, my values, my behavior, all of my learnings, all of my experiences, and also what I've gleaned from many, 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 many others. Right? It understands where I've come from. It understands where I'm going. It's got the design skill sets, so the methodologies that I've used in design. As an example, hey, finance. You got to fixed costs are a nemesis. You need to be able to go off and get fixed cost to variable and peg it to a metric. Right? All this is built into my digital me now. So 40% of my time I spend in conversation. I then spend 20% of my time in dialogue. 20% of it then goes into the analysis piece. And I've got 20%, it pops out the choices. And these choices are not right or wrong, because right and wrong doesn't exist now. It's a simple choice. And you want to...
So you got to make a decision.
Correct. And when you make that decision, don't be scared to change it.
Yeah.
So fail it fast. And make sure you've got a structure in your business that enables these things to happen. So maybe think about the new things that you're doing and have it kind of sitting away outside of the tactical day to day.
Yeah, it's fascinating you say that because when I speak to clients and other business owners, one of the things we try to get them to do is make decisions.
Yeah.
Because paralysis can come about by you just thinking about things too much and actually not making a decision to do X or Y. You just keep on thinking about and thinking, when actually doing is where the action is. You've got to take action. As you said, if you do it wrong, most decisions are not life threatening. It's not like flying a plane or something. So if it goes wrong, you can change it. But if you do nothing, then you're just thinking about it for weeks and weeks and months, and
Yeah,
nothing's happening.
I totally agree. And this is where the world in which we're in now, this becomes really, really, really important. And I would urge any founder or even anyone who thinks that they could be a founder in the future, this world in which we're in now, 3 months is a year.
Yeah.
Right? That's the speed in which we're operating. So if you
Super
sit
fast.
on something, right, you're going to have a major problem because your operating model has to change. You don't have any option but to go off and do change, because if you sit doing the same things that you've done historically, you will not be around. And it doesn't matter if you're someone who is self-employed, selling their time, let's say as a coach. I'm saying that because I see action coach in the background there, right?
Yeah.
Because the whole piece around monetization is just going to go off and change immensely. The value proposition that one has, you're going to have to change your value proposition. Because what I'm interested in, I'm sure the rest of your audience would be, what are the outcomes?
100%.
So for my shareholder piece, it's very, very simple. Right? There's two key things. I want dividend, share price. And something that's very, 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 very important to us all is that we want to have capitalism for societal greatness. Coming back into this 15 trillion, because it needs to be shared more evenly. There's a massive impact on our public services. Just look at what's happened with taxation in the UK. and the
Yeah,
mountain
yeah,
running in the US, is a big, big issue.
a huge issue. It's interesting because on another tact, who who do you admire? Who do you think of when you think of success from, particularly that model you just said about it's not just being in business, but actually social impact? Who inspires you?
I had, I mentioned my mum, and maybe because I'm a mummy's boy at heart, because I mean, when I just think back to I mean, I can remember not being able, my mum and dad, we had to, we were one of the first buyers of Cadbury Smash because we couldn't afford potatoes. So any of your audience, go off and do the little Google with the aliens on the Cadbury Smash advert because it tasted horrid.
Yeah, I remember that advert. I'm old enough to remember.
It wasn't all that great, but the ad was fab. That dehydrated potato. Oh my god! So I come back to my family. It's my family. We were brought up in a totally different generation about going off and giving, not about taking. Like hey, there used to be another ad, right, with a Rolo. Hey, let me give my last Rolo. There's another ad that was there.
Yeah, I remember
So,
that one.
so people like that, people who want to go off and make a difference and not just say it, absolutely do it. Andrew Carnegie, he was a great example. When you look at, the businesses that he went off and built and the legacy that he's gone off and left. And I've tried to do that myself. I've got a charity called Digital Anthropology, which is there to support people who are impacted by AI and by the digital worker that threatens their job. Because it is a
Interesting. Yeah.
threat.
Yeah, one to look up. So tell me, is it possible even? Because this question I usually ask about where do you go in the next 5 years? Are you able to even think about 5 years in the future or?
Oh my God. So for me, that's like 20 years ahead, with my 3 months being a year.
Yeah.
Right. 5 years, way too far ahead. If anybody's sitting with a 5-year plan, tear it up. Right? Just tear it up. You want to be looking probably 18 to 24 months ahead, in my
Okay.
opinion. And that's a long period in time in this new world in which we're in.
Yeah.
And one of the key things that we're very keen to enable is that it's the societal impact piece is a big, big thing for us. We want to be the go-to. So as an example, is that if any of your listeners are kind of saying, hey, what do I do about the people? Because you've got to bring AI and digital workers into your business. Because if you don't do that, you've got a significant problem. But it means that you don't now need as many people. So one of the things that we want to do is transfer those people to us, because we'll look after them and put into place what needs to happen for them to get their rewards from this 15 trillion. You still have the access to them because you don't need them permanently anymore. So in the same way that you go off and maybe rent a piece of software, you're essentially renting an individual anyway. Right? So whether they be on payroll or off payroll, you're renting them. So
An interesting concept, isn't it? So I mean, we try to always ask what impact AI will have on your industry, but AI seems to be a critical part of what you're doing. Is that fair or is that a misconception of?
oh, it's certainly not a misconception. You don't need to assume that, because that won't make an ass of you or me. This digital revolution that we're in is unlike anything that we've seen before. I came through the industrial revolution, and there's a whole number of people out there that go off and say, hey, we're in industrial revolution number 5 or industry 5. If you come across those people, move on. Come to the people who understand that we're in a digital revolution, because a digital revolution is entirely different from an industrial revolution. And it changes everything. If you're a shareholder, you'll be able to make a lot more money with less risk. If you're an organization, you'll see your value proposition being able to go off and change dramatically to deliver a lot more value to your customer at a lower price point. The functions that you're running inside your organization, they're going to become much more reliable and much more consistent. So we're going to have a level of accuracy in reporting it wasn't previously able to be there. And for the individuals now, because you still will have people in your business, but instead of having someone in your business now where let's say their time split, hey, I've got a third of my time doing things that I shouldn't do. I've got a third of my time, which are my table stakes. And I've got the third of the time when I do my magic. Because you will have employees like that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be on magic all the time now. So this is game changing in such a significant way. And for those that can adapt change, they're going to be the ones that will prosper because they will move much faster. And for those that struggle with change, look, mate, there's no right or wrong in your decision. Just don't sit back and do nothing. You have to make sure you're doing something in this revolution.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, fantastic. So, are you a book reader? Do you do audio? Do you do video? You know, what's your preferred learning mode?
Well, it's funny you mentioned kind of book that, you know, because historically I was never a great reader. But there was this one book that had a massive influence on me. And the book's called What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School by Mark H. McCormack. And Mark H. McCormack, for those in the audience, and go off and do a Google on Mark, fantastic, remarkable journey. He was one of the first people to go off and kind of create this kind of globalization, and he did it with golf. So some very famous players, you know, Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player. And there's a story in Mark's book, actually. I'll just take a quick minute on this. You know, Gary Player had such a skill set to get up and down from the bunker in two. And this day he's being interviewed. And he's a bit fed up with it. And because the interviewer's saying, God, you were so lucky going off and kind of getting up and down in two. And have a guess. That he goes, oh, well, isn't it surprising? The harder I work, the luckier I become. So listen,
I remember that quote.
Book is a fabulous book for someone to go off and read, no matter whether you're not into golf or sport. Magical things that reside in it.
Brilliant. What they don't teach you at Harvard Business School.
Correct. Fab book.
Brilliant.
So I recently signed up for something actually online. I can't remember who the supplier is, but for around $30, you get access into a whole library. I think something like about 50,000, 100,000 books. And what's really fascinating about that is that you get these kind of 15-minute kind of summary synopses.
Yeah, there's a number of different tools on around that now, which is phenomenal. Yeah,
so I'm a great believer.
Don't have to read the whole book.
No, precisely. There's also another book I had, is that, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a book that sat in the loo for you guys that might want to go off and sit in a loo. And I think it's called the Loo Book or something like that. All these little short stories over, you know, of classics, whether it be in business or development or historical.
Nothing wrong with reading a good book in the loo.
Yeah, I don't have a paper anymore to do that, sadly. So,
so what would you say is your biggest challenge right now?
Oh, talent. Finding talent is the biggest challenge.
How do you do it?
Well, this is why what we've done in Globolution to resolve this problem. What we've done is that we've developed a partner program and an associate program. So, because it's through that, because you tend to find that talented people tend to have their own businesses. So what we got our heads around, doing the following. Hey, we developed a partner program, an associate program, because what we believe in is being able to widen someone's portfolio of solutions. And that opens up for people to be able to work multi-portfolio and look at
Yeah.
getting different income streams. And since we've launched this and we've gone off and kind of trialed it and built it, we're going to go off and do something very major with that and have a very major program around seeking talent who are either in business or seeking employees, because what we see now is that we've got a massive growth in this gig economy. In the UK, 30 odd million workers, 6 million of them now work across more than one organization. So therefore, people who are employed, who would have a side hustle,
Yeah.
let's go off and make you the main hustle, because your employment should be the side hustle. So we want to invest into people like that.
Wow. It's a very different thinking, isn't it?
It is.
It's interesting. We're coming towards the end now. One question that people often ask, and obviously there's so much people talk about the great successes of business people, but a lot of businesses don't work. I mean, it's some of the data talks about 80% of businesses don't get to year 5.
Yeah.
What do you think is the reason why businesses don't work?
I
Why do they
think,
fail?
yeah. So firstly, I'm a believer in operating models. And so you've got to have an operating model. You've got to connect. If the shareholder doesn't have an operating model, it connects into the organization's operating model, because there can be conflict. It goes off and runs there. Richard, the shareholder, is very different from Richard, the CEO. These are different people. So we've got to kind of go off and make really sure that we get the link between the shareholder operating model and the organizations. And from there, we need to take that down into the functions. Because what this digital revolution allows us to do is that it enables us to put architectural models into place in areas like HR, finance, research analysis, product marketing, marketing, sales, technology. We're able to fundamentally put very solid architectures into place, because that's what the digital revolution enables us to do. And this thing enables us to get a different connection with the people. But the real magic sauce of it is that businesses wouldn't fail if they were able to eliminate the nemesis of fixed cost. Because if you're then able to move your fixed cost to variable and peg it to a metric, it's impossible now for your business to lose money. And that's what this digital revolution goes off and enables. You're able to move away from fixed cost to variable and peg it to a metric.
Right. Yeah.
So what we should see is that we should see a lot more successful businesses in the future, because the risk for the shareholder is diminished. And this becomes vital again to make sure that you work with an organization, whether it be in delivering outcomes to you, or whether it be with consultancy, mentoring, coaching. Vital. And if you do that,
Interesting.
you're going to see a dramatic change in this 80% failure.
Brilliant. So it leads nicely into my last question, in a way, that was a couple of tips. We usually say, what couple of tips would you give business owners out there? I mean, maybe you've summarized one already, but is there anything else you would say to business owners out there? A couple of tips you would give them?
Well, firstly, cash. Cash is king. Next one, I would go off and say, paper valuation is worthless. Do not get caught up in this valuation nonsense about going off and bringing in funding that increases your paper value, because you, the shareholder, will end up being harmed. It's about the real value. And this means that, look, there's no point fooling yourself. Because if you go
Yeah,
off and fool yourself, you're really the fool.
absolutely.
And find great mentors, great coaches, and ask for help. It's a sign of strength when you ask for help. It's not a weakness.
I love that. Yeah, brilliant. Richard, it's been unbelievably fascinating. I think we might need to do a follow-up, but it's been fascinating, and we're definitely going to have a follow-up meeting. So just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to have a bit of time with me.
Oh, it's been fabulous, and happily do it again. You're great. You're top notch.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Brilliant.
Thank you. And
Thank
thank you
you.
to the audience for listening.